Welcome back. Now we'll be talking about cross-platform consideration when designing products. And what does this mean? It means when designing a product, you have to also consider your users and understand that your product will be used across multiple platforms and devices, such as mobile devices, tablets, desktop, and even on smart TVs. And this process involves designing interfaces that are consistent, visually appealing, and functional across different operating systems, like the iOS, the Android, and the Windows operating system. And this is very important because what you design on an iOS might not work properly on an Android phone. Now, when it comes to screen size as well, it is always important, and that is why I always recommend using the iPhone 14 Pro frame, because most devices currently uses the same size with that particular frame. So that means if you're using an iPhone 14 frame to design, you're definitely going to have a good design on all other screens. However, when you're designing for iOS, it is best to also understand how it's going to work on Android, which means you have to work best with your developer to make sure that what is implemented on the Android is also as good as what is implemented on your iOS. Now, what are the key considerations in cross-platform UI UX design? Number one, consistent visual design. Creating a consistent visual design language, including typography, color scheme, iconography, and layouts that works well across different platforms. Now, this helps the user feel familiar with the interface regardless of the device they are using. Most times, you use an iOS and you use an Android to check a product and there is no difference. Also, most times they are slightly different from each other. This is because you want your user to be able to use the product seamlessly no matter their operating system. The next one is responsive design. We've always talked about responsiveness when it talks about screen sizes and resolution. If they use your product on a mobile phone and then decides to use it on a tablet, what would it be? Would it be smaller, or would it adapt to the responsiveness of that tablet? Also, in cross multiple platform design, you need to work with your developers to make sure that these things are implemented. The third one is navigation and interaction. Designing intuitive navigation and interaction patterns that are consistent across platforms. Users should be able to easily understand and navigate through the application regardless of the device they are using. This may involve using common gestures such as swiping and tapping, and also ensuring that interactive elements are appropriately sized for different input methods. So if you're using a touch for an iOS and then on an Android you decide to use a swipe, that is not a good iteration, right? If it's a tap on an iOS, it should be a tap on your Android. Now, the fourth one we want to look at is user context awareness. For example, designing for mobile devices may require prioritizing essential content and interaction due to limited space, while desktop interfaces may allow for more complex layouts and interaction. If you remember when we designed a responsive desktop for mobile, we reduced the header so it can accommodate the available space on mobile. Because if we don't do that, the user will have an overflowing text and start swiping to see the full text, and that is not a good user experience. I hope you understand what it means to build for cross multiple platform, and I hope you put this into practice as you go on with your career. Thank you.